I always go back to, well, you're not successful because you really suck at math. You know? Isn't that
Oh,
crazy?
wow.
It's so strong in me that I've even thought, should I just take a math class just to prove to myself that I can do this if I want to? And then I'm like, no, I got better things to do that are much more
Don't
fun.
do it. This episode I'm particularly excited about because Gabby and I have known each other for a while. Gabby is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
She is a creative content creator. She has an impeccable marketing background. She's a micro influencer. But if someone were to meet you and say, hey, what do you do? How would you describe yourself?
I think I would say I'm a creative in all aspects, like all aspects of my life. It's really hard for me to define what I do. So when someone asks, so what do you work with? I was like, well, right now I am employed by this company and this is what I do. So I work in marketing, but I also do this and I also do that. So it's really hard for me to define. And I think that has been something throughout my entire life. I've never wanted to be defined by, okay, you're a micro influencer, or you are a digital marketeer, you are a PR person. I'm a little bit of everything. When I say that, I feel super excited about it because that's how I want to live my life. But it's also the one thing that makes me go, okay, but what am I actually?
Do you ever feel the pressure to define it from yourself?
I think so. I sometimes go, oh, I just wish I had studied law and become a lawyer, or a doctor and become, or go to med school and then become a doctor. And I do realize that there are so many different things you can do if you study law. That doesn't necessarily bring you to be a lawyer. But I think sometimes for myself, because I do know that I'm very driven by lust and play. So sometimes it becomes quite overwhelming because I do find a lot of different things very exciting. And I think at those moments, I kind of go, okay, hang on, Gabby, what are you actually? Like, what do you want to do with all these things?
So, if we go through your experiences, you started off doing what?
So I started off with a quite clear view of becoming some sort of, not necessarily a diplomat, but working with something to do with maybe, okay, politics, but communication within politics, to do something that was important.
I hate to interrupt, but I need you to define important and real.
Okay, so important, I think. So just to give you a background, I grew up in Luxembourg, which is one of the hubs for the European Union. So I went to European school in a Swedish section. So my mom's Brazilian, my dad is Swedish. We moved to Luxembourg, where I got access to lots of languages, which is amazing. So then I was like, okay, I need to do something, I need to use these languages and do something good. And good in my head was, I need to make a change. I need to go into, yeah, some sort of maybe politics, maybe something to do the world, make the world a better place. Now, many years later, I realized that you can do that in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean going into the EU or any of those organizations. And I always, already as a teenager, I mean, I was going to school, but I was also running loads of side projects. It could be everything from running a babysitting network, because I babysat a lot, because I loved to make money. Like, I loved to make money, to have the freedom to not depend on my pocket money to do the things I wanted to do. So not only did I have lots of families that I would babysit for, I would then pinpoint my friends that could babysit for me, well, for the families, and make money for
Wait,
me.
how old were you?
I was like 14.
Oh my gosh.
So, and before that, when I was like 12, I ran something what I call now the manicure mafia, which is that I learned for a summer in Brazil how to do manicures because I loved it so much. It was so fun with all the colors. And I think that was also my portal into beauty. I love the beauty industry. I love colors. I love textures. So what I did then is I learned how to do manicure. My poor mom and my aunts, like their fingers were butchered. But I learned how to do it and actually started making money doing it when I returned back from Brazil that summer. And I charged €5 for a manicure, but it was amazing how fast it spread. And obviously, you do want to support someone who's 12
Yeah.
and running a manicure business.
It is a
So
business.
it is definitely a business. I'm also very proud of it. Like now that I think back, and also the thing with the babysitting is that I didn't just think, how many hours a week can I babysit? And then limits myself to that. Then I went, okay, but if I find families for all these people I trust to babysit. I take €1 each per hour. My God, I can make
It's
endless
amazing.
amount of money.
There's so much more we can discuss about your history. I want to go to money really quickly. What is it about making money that you love?
First of all, like making money, it just makes me feel so powerful. I am a very generous person. And I remember when I started making money on the manicure, it felt so good to be able to buy my brother ice cream. And I want to also put it in there. Like, we grew up very privileged. We grew up, we didn't lack anything. So it's not like I needed to make money to be able to buy my brother ice cream, but it was the fact that I could buy him an ice cream with my own money that felt very powerful. And today, it's like the money that I make, I mean, not only from my salary from the job where I'm employed, but the money I can make on the side. I mean, that money is the fun money, because that's the money I feel like I can really have. I can really, tweak the way I work to be able to make more money. And I sort of look at that money as a lifestyle pot of money. Things, the fun things that I can do, courses I want to take, trips I want to go on, because I always find a way to make trips somehow about content creation so that I can use the money that's in my company for that. But I think it always comes down to, for example, even the trips, when I think of them, I don't think, I'm going to go away on a trip. I think, how fun would it be to invite that friend? Or how amazing would it be to bring my mom here? And then we can experience something together, but I can also use the money that's in my company while also finding a way to make new money. I think it's just this view of that money will always come. Like, I feel like fun and powerful, and the world's my oyster when there's money coming in. But when it's a bit quiet, I feel like it's like a bit of a blessing and a curse to have that view on money.
Do you feel like you have a dependence on the money? Because right now it sounded like the money aspect of things almost dictates how you feel and how you respond to your current environment. Do you feel like you've developed a codependence to this?
I think so. So I do content creation, but I also do other things like moderation for events. I do, speaking of doing a little bit of everything, but because I've also been on the market, like on the other side of the table as a brand, I've worked in-house for brands, both part of it as a consultant and part of it in-house. I have also seen, like, how does it work with budgets? How do you negotiate with influencers slash content creators slash podcasters, whatever it can be, which is very good for me to know, like, the dynamics of that. So what I also do is I represent some content creators, other content creators, because I'm very good at negotiating rates for other people, but I'm not as good as myself. Because when I do it for other people, I'm really ballsy. Like, I see the value of what they do. And it's like, if you're not going to pay for it, you're not going to get it. That's sort of how I think when I represent others. And right now I have specifically 2 content creators that are doing amazing work, which are going to bring in amazing money for them. And then I take a cut of that. And now I feel like I'm in that mode where, okay, it's coming, there's a lot going on. And that also builds on the excitement. And because I'm very driven by lust and play and that, I feel like when I'm in this mode, more things come.
Yeah.
But when it's a bit quiet, I feel like I get quite bitter.
You're driven by lust and play. Are you able to activate that when you're in that low?
I don't think so. I think I'm struggling to kind of reach that. I feel
Okay.
like I normally say I'm very like solution driven, I'm very creative. It's very rare that I say, "Oh, I don't really know what to do." Like,
Yeah.
there's always, and sometimes when I'm stuck like that, I'm like, "Okay, but I know that I can solve this. I know that there's always a solution."
Yes.
But when I'm really down deep in the bitterness, it's really hard for me to see solutions.
What do you think happens there? Because other people will really resonate to this, and they're seeing someone who is successful, doing really well, and to see that part that is also in that depth of bitterness, they'll resonate. But how does that feel so people can help recognize themselves in that spot?
It really feels like I'm wearing what do you call it, like handcuffs, like that
Okay.
someone else is dictating the possibilities to,
Yeah.
that I just see everything is quite stuck. I feel frustrated. And then it's very easy. So I go from bitterness to frustration, and then I start picking at everything I'm not good at. And you know what's really funny is I always go back to, well, you're not successful because you really suck at math. You know? Isn't that
Ah,
crazy?
wow.
Yeah. So I always,
Wow.
and then it's like, because I speak a lot about this to my husband because he's really kind to himself. And he always goes like, how come when you're down, you just keep like kicking yourself? It's like I find all the things, and you didn't go to the gym, that's bad. And what else have I done that's bad in my life? And I start like, listing them. At the same time, I know that that's not going to make me feel good. Like
Yeah.
I know what I need. Like in those moments, I'm aware of what I should be doing, or maybe just what I should be just like sitting down and being okay with that feeling for a bit because I know that it's going to get better. But I still don't do it.
I mean, I can relate to this, and I think everyone can relate to this. When I'm in that spiral, because I too have been in those spirals, I'll, it's almost like I don't allow myself to feel deserving of the good that I actually have done. I'm like, why? Why would we do this to ourselves? It's pure
It's
maliciousness.
awful because if I heard someone else, I mean, I luckily I have a lot of people. Okay, a lot of people is a bit exaggerated. Maybe like three people around me that are very open about how they're feeling in relation to what they. I mean, if it's work or if it's private, they're very open about how they feel. And sometimes when they're describing, okay, I'm stuck in this rut, and this is what I'm telling myself, and I'm just like, that's awful. The things you're telling
Yeah.
yourself aren't true. And even if, okay, in my case, yes, I'm really bad at math, so what? It hasn't stopped me from doing any of the things that I have done. But in
Not
that
at all.
moment, it's just like, no, you didn't pass that last math test when you were 18. And it's like, oh my God, is that going to stay with me for the rest of my life? I don't know.
What have you made that mean about you?
I think it has made me mean that I'm not smart. Like I'm not smart in terms of if you're good at math, you're smart, you know? Like
Okay.
that's the narrative that I've sort of told
Yeah.
myself. And then I speak to friends who are very good at math, and they're like, "Yeah, but I mean, look at all the amazing things you're doing." But I think it's just stayed with me. It's so strong in me that I've even thought, should I just take a math class just to prove to myself that I can do this if I want to? And then I'm like, no, I got better things to do that are much more
Don't
fun.
do it.
One of the things I also realize is that I go into imposter syndrome
Mm.
when I'm down in this. I'm not. And then I start looking at all the things that I was very excited about having done, projects or clients, whatever it can be, and I look at them and I go like, but I mean, how good of a job did I really do? I mean, anyone could do this, and I think this anyone could do this is something that comes back every time I'm in that mode.
That that's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about the times when you bring yourself out of it, because you don't stay there, clearly.
No, no. And I think I have I joke and say like I have a very quick bounce back rate. Like
Yeah.
it's really easy for me to go from that to, okay, enough. Let's move on now. New energy. And I think, I mean, what can it take? A day, 2 days. So I'm very quick at getting back to it.
I want to go to Lust and Play because I also know that you have an education in sexology. Is that right?
Yes, yes.
There's so much we have to talk about.
Yes, there's so much. I just want to say I still have is it nearly a year of master work in sexology before, I'm considered a qualified sexologist. But yes,
So you're currently studying, you're about to finish your sexology education.
yeah.
Why go there? It's an odd one. And like I don't know anyone else who's done it.
Mm.
And what does it mean? And how will you apply it?
Yeah, I think this comes down again to, I mean, I've always tried to see, I mean, I don't want to limit myself. Okay, now I studied media communications at university. I also studied international relations.
Yeah.
And already that change from international relations to media and communication was already a bit odd. And when I was studying media communication, I was thinking, okay, what are the things that are like, what do I love? I love talking to people. I love listening to people's stories. And I realized that like listening to a lot of people's stories, one topic they were always avoiding was money and like sex/pleasure.
Hmm.
They were always talking about what they do for work, about their family. And But as soon as you mentioned that okay, one of my interests, like I love hearing about people's, like not necessarily people's intimate life, but how important it is. Like how important is that part of people's lives, and how do they apply pleasure to their life in general, not necessarily just in terms of sex.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I was thinking about this, okay, what is it that makes me so interested in this? Is because I realized that those people who had very rich, let's call it like intimate lives, regardless if it was with themselves or with their partner, were often very creative and they seem very fulfilled. And I started like mapping up, okay, so some people, they're living their life, they're happy. But then there are some people I meet that are so alive. And one of the things that they had in common was that they were very happy with their sex life. And I was like, okay, but if you feel more alive, and I know that there's this relationship expert, you can call her that, called Esther Perel. A lot of people know her. She talks about during the Holocaust that the people who survived, there was a very distinguished difference between those who like survived and those who lived. And those who lived were those who managed to find a connection back to pleasure with themselves or with their partners. And this really drew me into, okay, but I want to know more. Like I want to, when I think about my life in 10, 15 years, I love marketing, like I love communications and I love social media and I love content creation. But I also would love to have a moment where I'm forced to be 100% present with another human being. And because I have this interest of sexology, I see what it does to people when they're happy with their sex life. I want to spend more time in that space. So that's how I ended up going, okay, now's the time. I'm going to start studying sociology. It happened to be during COVID, so I could do it distance while also working full time. So I feel like everything just worked.
If you were to define pleasure, how would you define it? Because now I've got the intimacy with a partner, intimacy with yourself, pleasure just doing general things. I can't seem to grasp exactly the kind of pleasure that you're talking about. Like
Mm.
I have so many different definitions in my head.
Yeah, I mean, one of the, because I talked a bit about presence. I think when okay, pleasure in my like the definition can be, okay, I eat a slice of cake. The feeling of like the taste of it makes me like I'm aware of the taste. It's a moment of presence,
Yeah.
and I think that's it because, like I said, I noticed that I'm not very present like in my day-to-day life unless I find these moments, and it can be, like I said, it can be sex with my partner, it can be sex with myself, it can be working, not necessarily working out, because I don't want to define that as pleasure, but just to visualize it. The moment of pleasure for me is when you're done working out, you step into the shower and you use a shower gel or an oil or whatever, and you apply it on your body, and you feel that your muscles have worked, and then you're washing that off and you've done something for yourself, but the moment of pleasure is in the shower when the water is running and you're cleaning yourself. But you can't get that moment unless you've also worked out before.
Yeah.
So I think for me, pleasure has become about pinpointing these moments where I am not necessarily forced to be present, but where I notice that I automatically am more present.
I really like the way you've defined it because it allows me to even go back into moments of my life and go, you know what? I can probably reap a lot more pleasure out of this situation that I'm in, of this moment. And immediately I was thinking, I hadn't spoken to one of my friends for maybe a year, and she called and we spoke for 2 hours. And I remember the immense pleasure I felt because in that moment, we were just there with each other and talking and sharing, and it was amazing. And I think that it was presence, definitely, like just not thinking about what I should be doing next, but listening to her voice, the words that she uses, and just being in that moment. And yeah, so I think that I love the presence equals pleasure. I think I can choose more moments to actually bring myself back to presence and experience. So I can't wait to tell you how much pleasure I'll be feeling after this.
I can't wait. I'm super excited.
And for all the listeners, tell us how much more pleasure you'll be feeling after this as well. I want to know.
Yeah, because I do think people get quite intimidated with the word pleasure because most people go straight into thinking about
Yeah,
sex and lust and I mean,
which is also pleasurable.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's a very important part of my life, and I can see a huge change in friends, and I mean, try clients when they actually find, a way to get closer to that sort of pleasure. Because I think especially, I mean, I had my daughter a year and a half ago, and was speaking to other parents. It's really easy to write that part of your life off when you have kids because there's honestly never a good moment. I mean, if you have a partner, you're waiting for the stars to align. But one thing that I notice is that as soon as a couple who, like having sex together, they have sex, you go like, oh my God, why don't we do this more often? And I've started to like define all the things now that people say that, and it's working out because you never regret working out. I mean, have you ever gone to the gym and given your body that time and gone, oh, I wish I hadn't done that? No, it feels amazing. And the same thing with like, sex that, with consent and everything. It's the same. Like if you that moment of intimacy with your partner. And the same thing goes for a dip in the sea. I'm a huge advocate for, going for dips in the sea all year round. Have you ever met somebody who goes, oh, I wish I hadn't had that dip? No. So those are so far the three things that I've defined. And yeah, I think they paint a very good picture of the things that are important
Yeah.
as well. I mean, dip, it can be a cold shower as well.
We're running out of time, and I actually want to ask you if you'd like to come back on the podcast because I have so many more things I want to discuss with you. Particularly, I think it would be really interesting for my audience to hear about your content creation journey, vulnerability online, because everyone struggles with that. So if you were up for another part
Oh my
two,
God, I'd love to. I'd love to talk about that topic. I have so many things to say about that.
let's do a part two. And for the
Oh my
listeners,
God, that's
yeah, I
amazing.
know.
Wow.
I've
I
never
feel like
invited
I'm on
a part
opera.
two
You
yet.
get a TV, you get a TV, you get a second episode.
I'll share something that I don't know if I've shared on the podcast before, but I get really anxious about having interviews. And it's not because I don't know how to interview or I don't know how to have a good conversation. I'm always so stressed about how can I make this the most valuable experience for them so they can talk about things that they don't normally talk about. I got so stressed out when I started this about a year ago. I got so stressed out about having the conversation, all the pleasure and the fun and the joy was removed. And now I don't plan anything. Like I know the people who I invite, so the ones I know, and the ones who I don't know, I do a little bit of research, but not so much that I will stage the conversation. And sometimes the conversations are a little bit disjointed because I kind of just go from one thing to another because I like to have a very natural conversation rather than a manufactured one. But I noticed this morning, I'm like, oh, and I think it's because you're like, oh, is there anything I need to know about the podcast? I'm like, oh, no, not really. We're just going to have a good conversation. And this morning I felt a slight stress. I'm like, I need to make this really valuable. And then as we walk into it, I'm like, no, we're just going to have the conversation that we would normally have if we were meeting.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to have part two with you.
Yeah, me too. And I think this is the beautiful thing about podcasts. Like I ran a podcast actually with our common friend Sandy for a year. And it was so in the beginning, we're like, okay, so what are the topics? What are we gonna say? But the episodes that were the absolute best were the ones that weren't planned at all. So the night before, like, let's change the topic to this. Okay, let's just go.
Yeah.
So we developed this KBK, which is kör bara kör. So go, just go
Yeah.
in English. And now we apply it to everything that we do together. Just go with it. I mean, of course, if there's something that needs preparation,
Of course.
you do the preparation. But I do think in this setting, it's so much better.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love listening to episodes, so I'm really happy to be on the podcast.
Where can people connect with you?
It would be so nice to connect on Instagram. So the handle is at Gabriella Killeens. Maybe we
All
can
right.
add it in the notes. It's a bit difficult. And on LinkedIn, if you're on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Ivy. This is so, so great.
That's it for today's episode of The Creative Flight. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I invite you to leave a review. It really helps more creators find the show. For more insights and behind the scenes content, you can follow me on Instagram or LinkedIn. You can also check out my resources on ivymalik.com. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Until then, keep creating, keep pushing those boundaries, and keep taking flight.